Testing, testing, test. Am I on? Yep. All right. Your council meeting for October the 14th, 2025 to order. And a reminder to council to disclose any pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. And today we do have two councillors joining us remote, two councillors in the chambers, and one is absent today. So we do have a quorum and we're ready to go. So approval of the agenda, and I'm going to have the ones, do we have both on remote? Yeah. Okay. Hi, Rod. Rod?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Todd?
Yes, Mayor McKeever, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, good. All right. So we'll start by approval of the agenda. Moved by Smokey and second by Rod. And any questions, comments on the agenda? All in favor? Motion is carried. So is Todd joining us by a phone? Or? Oh, okay. All right. Okay, we will go to the minutes of September the 22nd. We're in secondable minutes. Smokey, you're going to be busy today. Smokey and Todd? Questions on the minutes? Call the vote. All in favor? The motion is carried. Public meeting and nil, delegation nil. Consideration of agenda items. Nick Larson, Agile Infrastructure Unlimited. Welcome, Nick.
Hello. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. So thank you very much for your time today. To the counselor on the phone, I'll do my best to describe the graphs we're going to be talking about, and we'll do our best. So what I'm going to do is share my screen, and I'm going to walk us through certain parts of the asset management plan. That sounds okay? It says I've disabled screen sharing. Good. I can do it without if you got the report in front of you, but just let me know. Are we working on being able to share my screen?
I think we're working on that.
There's,
okay,
I think,
excellent. Yeah,
a little bit of internet issues here right now.
Sure. Yeah, take your time. All right, we're good. Thank you kindly. Okay, so what we're here today to discuss is the asset management plan. If there's councillors or the mayor has been around and seen various iterations of this document change over time, what we're here to present is the latest version. There was new requirements July 1st, 2025 in the regulation that drives the structure of the asset management plan. And so we'll get into the section where we talk about that, and then we'll give you a sense of what that looks like. So the first thing to note about the asset management plan is that although the PDF is a lot of pages, most of it is a listing in Appendix C and D of all your assets and all the things we're forecasting to do over the long term to those assets. So that stuff is, demonstrates the level of effort that goes into the document and the transparency on how the graphs are presented, but they're not meant to be consumed and read regularly. Make sense? Okay. Sorry, I'm having, everyone's got, can I get a thumbs up? So far, so good. I got my, I can't see the camera while I have my presentation going. So just chime in if you have any questions, okay? I won't be able to see any hands. Okay.
That sounds good.
Back to the report. So the first thing we want to notice about what's a little different about how we're trying to deliver asset management planning services is on this first page, you'll see how quickly we are able to make updates to the asset management plan itself. So what's important in asset management planning is we don't want it to be a stale report that's out of date. We want to make sure that it reflects the latest plans, the latest state of infrastructure, and the best information we have on the assets at any given time. So that's how quickly we're able to turn the reports around. And that's, again, a testament to the system that exists in your staff. So the first thing I'm going to do is just pause on what we're talking about with respect to the definitions of asset performance. So when we talk about an asset performing good, fair, and poor, what we mean is the degree to which that asset meets the organization's objectives or requirements. So the short form is the asset fit for purpose? So that's a clear distinction with when we start talking about what are the real needs of some of your infrastructure. It's not just its physical condition. Lots of other reasons why an asset could be unfit for service from a functional perspective, and therefore it's going to be on the list, and we can talk about the projects that are required and the money in order to have that asset meet its expectations. So that's what is the fundamental term in our asset management plans is asset performance. Okay, so I'll just skip to the first one. So the first is the scope of your assets. So you have $427 million worth of assets. You can see the vast majority is in your road asset portfolio. But that doesn't mean, the other asset groups are, they punch above their weight in terms of their replacement value, in terms of the impact they have on your community. So you'll see we pay just as much attention to all the other asset groups as we do with the roads in the analysis. Okay, so the second section is your performance assessment, what's often called your state of local infrastructure. So again, sticking to our definitions of good, fair, and poor, we present the information in both a graph and table format. So for each of your asset groups, we present the percentage of assets by replacement value in good, fair, poor. And so that's how you read these graphs. The ones with the bigger chunks of red are the ones where a greater proportion of the assets in that portfolio are in the poor performance category, meaning they require a project to be done on them in order for them to go into the green or yellow performance category. Okay, and we present that information again in both a summary graph, but also in this detailed table, again to demonstrate how we have this information from the bottom up. So this is aggregated from each individual asset. And so if we want to see how did we get to each of these assets having this amount of assets in the poor performance category, you can turn to Appendix C and you'll be able to see the assets specifically that are in the poor performance category. and what the note beside them says around why they are in the poor performance category. So what you'll see.
I interrupt just before we leave this page?
Please.
My question, just looking at this, some of the graphs kind of boggle my brain, but lots of things do. But the question I have is, and I understand, like, I mean, trying to estimate costs, especially in this day and age and what's going on in the States and whatever is really difficult. One thing that I wonder about and is, we have no spending on Tobermory water. And I guess I probably kind of question the, fair, whatever. So I'm just wondering, so we have here a zero spending on Tobermory water at the base of that graph. And I think we're, I guess at this point, we're maybe uncertain, but I mean, in reality, so one thing like that can really set this whole thing askew. So I'm just wondering how do we mitigate that, or what was the thinking behind that?
Sure, great question. So we'll get to the water specifically, but just to get into Tobermory water, so we understand the status of the ongoing master plan. And so what we can say is that we know there's lots of work happening at Tobermory water, the specific, so this is not spending on Tobermory water. This is right now the assets in the poor performance category that Aqua is recommending in their 5-year plan to replace. Now there's work recommended at Little Tub related to rebuilding those pumps, but we understand with the flux of the master plan until the final situation is known in Tobermory, then we'll update this to reflect the proper needs based on the master plan. So there is an asterisk, so to speak, on the water section specifically that talks around where we think the long-term spending. I think it's around $100,000 a year on Tobermory water, but that number is subject to the outcomes of the ongoing master plan. So this graph specifically means there's no asset right now where we're looking at Tobermory water and saying we're planning to replace this in 2026. That's what poor performance means. We'd like to replace this asset right now in order for it to meet our expectations. So the uncertainty at Tobermory water is what is leading to this number still being zero until we have the actual plan. Same with the water mains in Lion's Head. So it's the same process where if the master plan has an outcome, which is all the 4-inch pipes are going to be bigger and need to be bigger, and that's the plan, then all those pipes will show up in the poor performance category under water mains. But as of right now, that master plan isn't finalized, and the plan to upsize those pipes in Lion's Head hasn't been explicitly defined for us yet.
Thank
Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay.
It does. It's just, when we look at these numbers and what numbers could be, it's, and I guess it's like a lot of things these days, is that you really have to be aware that costs can be considerably more than what you can guesstimate or estimate using the best forecasting.
And I think you'll see that all these graphs at the top and bottom reference what we call current performance. So that's the other thing that's new with 2025 requirements of the OREG 588 that drives this. We're now asked to consider for what asset groups do we have a desired performance expectation that's greater than the current. And that's essentially where you're just about to be finished defining through the master plan to be able to say these are the desired performance objectives. And then we'll be able to present 2 scenarios, one saying keeping Tobermory water the way it is with Little Tub the way it is, or implementing the recommendations from the master plan. And we'll have 2 scenarios where we can look at the smaller amount of money to maintain current versus the larger amount of money to achieve desired. So that's another piece that's coming into this, which is exactly on point with the situation in Tobermory water specifically.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is current performance. And then what we do is get into forecasting. So we forecast for a period of 25 years. Some asset management plans forecast for longer, but we like to use 25. It's a foreseeable future. It's reasonably budgeted from a financial perspective. The ventures are in the 20 to 30 year range for infrastructure. So this is, in our opinion, the right forecasting timeline to be looking at. So what we're doing is taking the current performance of the assets. For each type of asset, we are experts in understanding the specific things that we do to those assets over their life cycle. We look at your budgets to understand what you're actually doing to your infrastructure. So that's what separates our approach a bit from maybe a traditional road need study. You might recommend full depth reconstruction, and you're not doing that much full depth reconstruction. So we really try and calibrate the analysis to what each community does themselves based on their own preferences, while also understanding the engineering best practices for what is done to this infrastructure. So that's how we go about doing the forecast. And the first thing you're going to see, because you see a lot of these graphs, I'm going to zoom in on one. This is an asset or an asset group over 25 years where we spend no money on the asset group. So we don't want to see this picture. What we see is we start off with 20% in the poor performance category, and by the time we're done, everything has deteriorated to poor. So this is what we don't want to see. And the question is, how much money do we need to spend in order for this not to occur? So that's what we do for each of your asset groups, and come up with an analysis that looks like this for each asset group. So what this is telling us, this is for the roads. Over the next 25 years, the amount of red roads staying approximately the same, and we need to spend this amount of money in the bottom graph in order to achieve this top performance profile. And the average spending in this bottom graph is $2.4 million per year over the long term. So that's really what we're trying to answer with asset management is by asset group, what is the funding envelope we're seeing to maintain the infrastructure as it exists right now? And so that analysis has been repeated for each of your asset groups. Roads are the biggest in portion of your replacement costs and the biggest slice of the annual forecasting need. But your total is at the end of these series of graphs, just a little over $5.5 million per year on average, the average capital spend to maintain your infrastructure systems at your current performance objectives. So what you see in this report is a series of these graphs for each asset group. So I guess I'd offer to go through each one, or if there's specific asset groups that you have questions about, we can get into specific ones. I guess I'll just, before I talk, I'll offer the opportunity to ask some more questions.
Thank you. Well, just on our last note, and I'm, like I said, I'm just trying to understand all these, and I will take more time to look at them or whatnot. But on the expenditure program projection, like we have includes 10 million in 26 and 27 to fund the new arena for a total of 20 million above the maintained current scenario. This aligns with the latest estimate of 17 million plus an additional 3 million allowance for land acquisition. Like, I'm just, have we done the same thing in some of the, like, I mean, we, to my mind, we have not actually, that's the same as our water system in Tobermory. We have not actually determined that.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm just trying to understand, because I guess as counselors or whatever, or look at, we have different, like different places have different priorities. So we're just, you know, to me, you know, the water system is highly priority, but I'm wondering what the difference there is.
Sure. So we would like for any asset group where council, staff, the community feels like there is a desired increase in performance that's out there, like you're observing in the arena section or the facilities piece, where we've looked at an alternative scenario. What would the arena like? We would like to do that for any other asset group for which we can come up with the numbers. So the challenge with, again, to the water master plan is just because of the nature of it right now. The PIC materials, you know, don't have the estimate. We had a discussion with staff about where those numbers are with respect to being able to pencil one in, let's say, and look at a desired performance objective on the water and wastewater systems. And that's, unfortunately, the numbers and the data wasn't there to let us do that. But certainly with our concept of being able to update this efficiently and on an ongoing basis, as soon as that information is available, or even potentially as it becomes available to help decide, we could be looking at additional scenarios for the water and wastewater systems. And we would think that's a good thing to do. And that same approach can be applied to your other asset portfolio. So the reason why there's only one for facilities is because that was one that we had numbers and discussed with staff that we felt appropriate to include in this version of the asset management plan right now.
Yeah, I guess I just have different priorities. Thank you.
And
Nick, just before you go, on page 39 or 34, I guess it is, it's sidewalks.
yes,
So it looks like it says 40,000 per year long-term average.
Mhm.
So is that what you're suggesting, that we need to spend annually to maintain or improve our sidewalks?
so sidewalks specifically, we've been talking with Troy about the big work that's planned for downtown Tobermory, we believe. I think there's some new sidewalks going in. So sidewalks are, again, a piece where there's a maintain the sidewalk segments you've got. So yes, over the average 25 years, budget 40 grand a year to maintain the sidewalks you've got. But again, that isn't on a number of my clients would talk about fully accessible sidewalks, AODA compliant sidewalks that are 4 feet. And we would have the number of sidewalks that are accessible with that sort of thing. So we can look at a desired scenario, which is building out the sidewalk inventory to the top accessible standard.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay. And so again, the great questions. I love these questions because that shows the value of setting up an asset management plan like this. As the information comes out, what desired could be, this analysis can incorporate that information and present good numbers to support decision making, to help decide, not to make a decision for anybody, but to help decide what the impact of making that decision is. Okay, so it looks like everyone's ahead of me in terms of going through the asset groups, but you're reading it the right way. So sidewalks has a big spike because there's one big project plan. We've done a few $100 grand in sidewalks the last couple of years. And then we can decide what's after that. Is there still a bunch of desired work to be done on the sidewalks that exist? Okay, so that's the level it's at, each individual asset group, and down to individual assets. If you look in Appendix C, you will see a small sidewalk inventory with the comment beside the one saying we're planning to spend 500 grand, and we can decide which sidewalks are being improved and then which sidewalks are going to be net new sidewalks as we build them. Okay, so we do that for each asset group. We add it together at the end here. This is our combined capital spending forecast. And like the councillor already observed, just go back to facilities, because we mentioned that. So there are two scenarios for the facilities, 5A and 5B. 5A is maintaining what you've got now, which is the facilities, still doing some of the work that's been identified in the facility needs study. And then 5B is funding the arena over 26 and 27, 10 million a year. And so we can look at that. We have a financial model behind the scenes that we then look at the cost of doing that, take on the debt, apply a debt servicing cost, and we can see what this would do to the long-term financial outlook. So the first thing we do is, what does the spending needs look like? So we have our two scenarios, scenario A and scenario B. And then we go into the financial analysis. So behind the financial analysis is a 25-year long-term financial model. It has all of your operating cost centers in there, and we apply an inflation rate to those operating cost centers of 2%. Again, we're talking about long-term financial strategies here. So we understand the high inflationary times over the last few years, so we can dial it in year by year, but over the long term, we look at a 2% increase operating. And then we look at our revenues being forecasted, and we can understand, do we have enough revenue to cover the forecasted capital expenditures? So that's really the purpose of the financial analysis. What the regulation says is, it says, what's the cost to achieve your current performance objectives, which is what we've got here. So we say, to achieve our current Without the arena, if we assume only a 2% increase to the tax levy, we'll see over time a declining reserve balance. And what this happens because much of the revenue that you get is from recurring government grants, and we don't assume they're indexed to inflation. So they stay at a 0% inflation. So over a 25-year period, your operating expenditures go up at 2%, and a portion of your revenue stays flat, which means the levy, if you just leave it at 2%, will over time not be able to keep up with the increasing operating costs. So then we can look at what's the cost, what would a tax levy increase need to be in order to prevent the decline we were seeing in the initial analysis. And that analysis shows that a 2.5% annual increase to the tax levy over the long term results in a stable reserve fund balance while being able to fund your capital forecast of 5.6 million to maintain current performance. And then what the regulation says is, what's the financial strategy to fund your desired? If we get to a situation where the desired is more than can be afforded, what we're asked to do is comment on the risks of not being able to achieve the desired. So in this case, as we move forward with the desired performance scenarios on the water system, the wastewater system, sidewalks, and other asset groups, we may end up with more desired than can be afforded with the tax increase that I'd like to see. And then we can get into a prioritization discussion around what would it look like to check off, half of these, 3/4 of them, that sort of thing. So for now, we've looked at the cost to fund the arena. We've added the financing strategy of 17 million debt, 3 million grant. And then what we can do is pencil in, that would have resulted in this red line going down, and then we can increase the tax levy more to make sure that we don't see a negative reserve fund balance, and we can see that we can afford the arena with the additional debt servicing costs, with a 3% annual increase to the tax levy, without the reserve fund balance being becoming negative. So that concludes with us that for an additional 0.5% increase on the tax levy, that's what it would take to fund the arena project to achieve your desired performance objectives. And that's really the end of the decision support system that's behind the asset management plan, is being able to look at what the infrastructure need is to maintain current versus achieve desired, and then bring that into a financial analysis that brings some understanding of the long-term financial impact of those different scenarios.
Nick, I was just looking at that as well. And so the 2.5, and I was reading the bullet point, the second bullet point, building the new arena would require a tax levy to increase by 3% per year. And so that is just, but it says here an additional 0.5%.
Sorry, was that not clear? Yeah, not 3 additional percent, an additional 0.5%.
Yes,
Sorry,
yes. And okay, well, just on that, I'm surprised that does it. 0.5. But you've gone through the calculation, so.
Yeah. So it's 1.6 million per year is your annual debenture, and your tax levy was, sorry, off the top of my head, Teresa would probably know more than I would.
Yeah, tax levy is around 8 million, is it? Around 8 million, yeah. Is Teresa? No, I thought she was, is that right, Teresa?
Pretty sure we did that right. Sorry, I mean,
yeah.
Are those figures in here somewhere where that was calculated?
So there's a long-term financial model that's been shared, and yeah, we can pour over the details of those, but I thought we had triple checked that.
Yeah, just double check that one, because I like the number.
Like what, when cheap though, doesn't it? Sounds like a good deal.
Sounds. I think I'll take it.
Yeah.
Okay, Nick, that's good. You can double check that.
Yeah. If it is incorrect, I apologize. I thought you're making me panic, but again, part of the process to update it and make sure it's dialed in right, you know?
Yep.
But again, as we go through the various asset groups, I mean, that's what's important too. With as your water master plan is complete, is how is this stuff going to get paid for? Because it's all well and good to say that we've got, you know, all this work that we need to do, but we want to make sure that it's in an affordable state, and that, you know, it's something that's going to be really help the community in the long run. So
I just have a question too, and your infrastructure performance measures.
Yep.
And you calculate here percentage of assets and poor performance and desired percent and poor, whatever. So under the Tobermory water, you have that 0% of assets and poor performance. So I'm just curious because we were hauling water up from Wyerton up to last year, right? There's been some digging up the well and some like basically superficial things done to the water system. But when you spend a summer and more hauling water, you know, that many kilometers up the highway, I'm just wondering about when we talk about the Tobermory water being in zero, like in good condition, really. I guess
yeah.
I'm not aware of that history or where your history comes from.
So we worked on this with Aqua.
What's that?
So we worked on this with Aqua. So we looked at their 6-year major maintenance plan that gets presented to the municipality on an annual basis. And so it's based on recommendations of what infrastructure work is on that list for what pieces at essentially Little Tub need to be improved. So when you're talking about trucking water, you're trucking it to the community center, like where the well is?
Yeah, we put up tank there because our water ran dry there. When the new washrooms went in, well, there was a problem, and there just was not water in the well. Now there's been some work done on the well, but we were actually, I had to keep an eye on it, and actually water was trucked up from Wyerton to keep those facilities working.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that
we
wouldn't
can-
be anything to do with the Tobermory water system. So that
No,
would be
but
under the community center, yeah.
I get
Yeah.
it. We have the
Yeah.
community center there though, and there is, you know,
Yeah.
we have the equipment from Aqua there. But that doesn't mean it shouldn't be in poor just because there's clearly an issue. So how we think about it is if there's obviously an issue like something like that, not that we're waiting to figure out what to do with the pumps at Little Tub, then we should be having that noted. So let me talk to Aqua. And,
not your job to make these decisions or whatever, but it just sort of jumped out at me there.
No, and
Say I have a bias.
yeah, and when you see Appendix A, there has percent of poor, but underneath it you'll see technical performance indicators.
Okay.
And so those are very, like they're from the Tobermory Lagoon System annual reports and the Lions Head Water System annual report. So we could, and we will be, you know, we need to add a row in there related to the community center, I think, to point out that there is water issues, and then we can at least have them flagged. I think it's important to
Yeah, I do too, because these
Yeah.
could be looked at by another council, by various, and I understand it looks very thorough to me, but there's just something. And to be honest, I haven't really spent that much time on it, but it's just some of those things jumped out a little, and I'm not certain if that should be part of your report or not. It's just something that I wanted to note.
I think it should. And it just means, again, like what we have a concept of keeping this fresh on an ongoing basis. And what that means is making sure that we're listening and incorporating performance measures, technical ones that reflect the questions we're being asked. So
Not in history. The best indicator of future history is past history. So
Amen.
it's me.
That is our mantra. That's what separates our approach to asset management is we need to say, where are your issues and let's forecast them. So we will incorporate that into the next update. That's the last piece I would leave you with is you have a PDF in front of you or that's with the council package, but on an ongoing basis, as updates are material enough to make, we'll be working with staff to make sure there's always an updated asset management plan on your website. So get in the habit of, going to the website to see the latest, because the answer might always be, or might often be, yeah, we've caught it. It's there. Yeah, it's been incorporated. It's there. Go check out the update. That's really what our approach is all about, is keeping it fresh and making sure that it becomes the thing that's there to support decision making.
Thank you.
All right. So that concludes your presentation?
Yeah, sorry, that concludes the presentation. And again, there's a staff report that I believe goes with it that just talks about accepting maybe Kara wants to do her staff report piece. But
yes, yep. Yeah, it's a very detailed report.
That's good.
Very detailed. And so, yeah, a lot of work has gone into it. And I want to thank staff for their, and you as well, for all the work that's gone into this report. And it certainly is a good guiding principle for us to going forward in the future. So, Rod and Todd online, any questions?
No, I read through that. There is a lot to digest, but so far so good.
Okay. Todd?
No questions for me, thanks.
All right. All right, with that, I want to, on behalf of council and staff, Nick, thank you for your presentation.
awesome. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Yep. All right. There is a lot of information in there.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, we'll go to item B on the, oh, so sorry, there is a recommendation here. So the council received GIS IT 25-04 report titled the 2025 Asset Management Plan Updated, and the council approves the Municipality of Tobermory 2025 Asset Management Plan Updated as presented, and that council recommit to the municipality's existing strategic plan asset management policy, originally approved by bylaw 2019-20-52 as the guiding framework for ongoing asset management planning and implementation. I'm in second for that. Smokey, Rod, second by Rod. Any questions? Call the vote, all in favor? And the motion is approved, carried. So we'll go to item number B. It's the building department. It's a trailer agreement. Smokey, moved by Smokey, second by Todd. Any questions on the trailer agreement? Hearing none, call the vote, all in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Fire Chief's report. Item C on the agenda is a Tobermory Fire Hall generator replacement. And here is it. We're asking that council approves the replacement of the standby generator at Tobermory Fire Hall at a cost of $12,882.40 and be funded through the 2025 capital budget. Any questions? Do we move over a second? No. Smokey? Move by Smokey. Sure. Second.
Quick question, Mel.
Yes, on the, yes, go ahead, Rod.
Just wondering about the old generator for Tobermory and for the upcoming Lion's Head. Are we gonna auction those off or try and get rid of them somehow?
The future of those old generators, Jack.
Those generators we're going to assess to see if they can be used at another facility or another property. But right now, they're looking like they're towards their end of life at this point. We are going to do an assessment on them to see if there is a little bit more viable use to them.
Did you hear that?
I did, and that's probably a good thing. It's the type of generator that we could probably put on a trailer and use sort of in situations where you need power in the middle of nowhere for the fire department or something like that, though.
Okay. All right, Rod, would you second that report? Yes. Any further questions on it? Right, if not, we will call a vote on item C, Tobermory Fire Hall Generator. All in favor? Motion is carried. Item D is the fire chief report again. Until the line set fire hall generator is the same thing. They're asking for a replacement here. And this one here is a cost of $29,098.04. Moved by Todd, second by Rod. Any questions on the line said report? Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Parks and Facility. This is a request for a quotation resulting in one vote coming in for the Rotary Hall patio and sidewalk work. And it is accepts the quotation of Royal Concrete in the amount of $105,610. And we utilize up to $52,000 from municipal reserves to fund the balance of the project. Moved by Smokey.
Well, I would like to ask a question regarding it once we get it on the floor.
Yeah. Mover and seconder. Rod. And Todd. Questions?
Just, we only had, and I guess it's just that I am not fully aware of what costs should be on things, but I just wanted to ask Mark if this seems reasonable in your estimation when we only get one quote and it's over $100,000. I mean, I guess I can't see the intricacies of what's happening here, but does that seem like patio? It just, I don't know. Does it seem reasonable to you? I guess you wouldn't have put it on the agenda if you felt otherwise, but I want to ensure because like we get questioned on these items and nothing against the contractor. He put in a quote. That's not my point at all. But when you only get one quote on something, it does leave questions.
Certainly. So we made every effort to directly invite as many companies that are in that form of work of doing foundations and slab work and gave them plenty of time to submit their quotations. Pat Boyle gave an original quotation early on in the year when we were formulating the budget. But because of the need to have engineered design for the footings and the patio, as well, Troy held off on some of the sidewalk work in front of Rotary Hall, just so that we wouldn't damage a new sidewalk in the event we were doing the patio. It was our hopes earlier in the year that all of that work would have coordinated at the same time, but that did not happen. So it took some time to get the engineered design, and it's very thorough. It involves tying into the front corners of the Rotary Hall existing foundation, and proper footings to depth with proper reinforcement with rebar. So we believe it is reasonable. The engineer, it's been shared with the engineer, so they believe it's within reason. Yes, concrete is expensive here on the North Bruce Peninsula versus if you were closer to Owen Sound. So unfortunately, it is the price that it is, and I can't really tell you anything more than that. The existing brickwork, interlocking brickwork, the deteriorating front steps, the slope of the walkways do not meet accessibility. This project would remedy all of that, as well as secure the front foundation of the building. And it's kind of a joint project between Public Works and Facilities, where we're using funds from both departments. So.
Thank you.
Other questions? All the vote? All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Item number F is the Deputy Clerk report, short-term accommodation licensing program review. Mover and seconder for that one, Smokey and Todd. Steve Lindsay has gone through a couple of things that people have been inquiring about. And Lindsay, do you want to give us a little overview? Or... Yeah.
2025 was a great year for the licensing program. It seems that we worked out a lot of the kinks and the issues that property owners and some of the STs, especially with the implementation of the road sign requirement. A lot of the neighbors found that very beneficial to directly contact the property manager. And because of that, bylaw did not receive the same volume as calls as we had seen in previous years. So they were able to self-correct the issues before we even got involved. We currently have around 365 licensed STAs, allowing for 35 licenses still available within the program at this time. And I'm happy to take any questions that anybody has.
Smokey.
Just number one, this is a great report, Lindsay. It really is. Like, it brings forward a couple of things, and it doesn't just bring forward questions. It gives us a really good explanation of what your sort of decision was on it. Because like the 7 days a week is just unrealistic, and as far as the minimum number of nights, we've stayed at STAs and say Nova Scotia, whatever, in a couple of different places, and you can go. Nobody goes for much for a week, and I don't think a lot of people would be able to compete. The distance between STAs is an interesting one, because we do hear complaints where you have, if you're the one landowner in a group that is not renting, perhaps, but on the other hand, I've kind of seen where private landowners sort of gang up almost on the one. Anyway, all I would say is I agree with the decision. And it was something, and maybe if it, we just have to keep an eye on and see if there's ways to mitigate that in some way. But I thought it was a great report and gave us lots of information. And I agree with what you have suggested there as answers to the questions.
And if there's someone has a complaint, and so if they go to the number at the end of the road. And so how many of them, do most of them comply with that, or is that something that is in progress yet?
Since we established the requirement to have the road sign, We found that the manager and the issues not resolved, that not going to escalate it to that. So if they're not compliant with the request of the neighbors to address the noise, then that's going to be involved in it. So I would say that we didn't receive too many that were not compliant with the neighbor's request to address the noise. From the report, this was and that was one of the requirements to pass, was that they had the road sign installed in order to renew their license for another year. So moving forward, this will be checked regularly, and we do receive quite a few complaints about these properties not having the road sign up. We contact them right away, and a majority of the time they are quite compliant. If there is an issue where they've ordered, say, a professional road sign, they want something that looks a bit better, they'll put up a temporary sign so that they are in compliance with the requirement until it comes in.
Yeah, okay, good. Any questions online? If not, we will call a vote on that one. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, item number G, the Volunteer Recognition Award Policy. Mover and seconder for that one, Smokey and Rod. Any questions on Smokey?
And this is just maybe my bad memory. Would you mind just giving me a bit of a rundown on what is different with this, what you're proposing here and what we have traditionally done in the past?
Sure. So back in October of 2024, Council received a report regarding the Volunteer Recognition Award policy, and in that policy, it was where the awards was broken into categories, and then people would be nominated in those categories, and then I believe it was the mayor would choose the winner within each one, and then I think prior to that there was no policy in place, but the procedure was that everyone nominated would get the award. So this policy is different from the 2024 policy in that we're kind of going back to the way it was prior. So it eliminates the categories and everyone nominated for 60 awards. Okay, thank you.
It's actually going back to the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
And we did receive, or at least I did receive a few complaints about that process. So they said they liked the old process better.
Mm-hmm.
So
I just was trying to figure out what exactly was the difference, but it's the same, only a little bit different.
And it was kind of staff and myself that selected. It was, selected the year. Yeah. So we're just going back to the way it was. All right. Any questions on that one? Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. CAO report. And it is the quarterly report. And they're always an informative report for council. So appreciate them. Moved by Rod and Rod, second by Rod. Any questions on the quarterly report? That's okay.
I did just have Lindsay print this off for me, and I'm going to spend some more time. These are excellent, and I'm really interested in the budget part of it, and I certainly will take some more time to look at it. But one of the things, just going through it since last week, that has to do with I just had a question about the fire department. I'm glad Jack is here. So I see that there was an increase in both bush resource rescues, water rescues. I'm wondering if we keep track of where. But I'm just. What the increases, maybe some. Federal lands, provincial lands, how do we get resources, money back from, you know, the larger government agencies for what's taking place on their properties, which is their responsibility? I'm just thinking like they got a lot of difference from the taxpayers. Flagging that or trying to recover it. I'm glad we're helping. It's part of our tourism, and
That's a great question, Councillor. I've been speaking for bush rescues at the start. Predominantly, our bush rescues have been in the national park and Lions Provincial Park. Working with my colleagues at the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs to lobby the minister for parks for funding similar to funding that would be received through NGO billing under the same format where we bill directly to the government based on the number of apparatus per hour that were assigned to that call. It's a work in progress on that. National parks still seeing quite an increase, and I think that's commensurate with the amount of people that were at the national park this year. I think free park passes certainly increased the amount of people that were coming to parks. Throughout the peninsula, including Southwest Peninsula, where we assisted with some water rescues in their area this year. And we also saw an increase in motor vehicle collisions on Highway 6 that predominantly were tourism related as well.
thanks, Jack. And we've had this conversation, I don't know how many times. I'm just wondering, I mean, we talked to that, but the thing is, if we don't do something, nobody is going to, let's just call it pony up. And the federal park is not going to pony up unless we put some pressure on. But this is obviously, again, what we just spend, $40,000 on generators for our fire stations, right? Like that, and beyond that, we're into, a lot of money upgrading our fire department. And thank goodness we are, because it serves us as well. But a lot of these upgrades and these costs should not be borne by our taxpayers. So I would like you and Peggy we could put our thinking caps on and how we can make these requests mean something. Because quite frankly, I've been talking about it for years. Like, how do we get compensated for a service that we're providing to governments that have million times our budget? So I guess I'm going to ask that we try, to take a look at what can we do to get some money from these organizations that we're serving. Is that possible?
I guess we can have staff come back with a report, Peggy, of some sort, and see what approach we take, especially when we have our councillors back in the chamber here. And and so does that sound reasonable to you?
I think we're going to have to try to get money from wherever we can. None of us know what's coming down the pike.
Yeah, we'll have our staff look at that, and we'll have a report in a couple of weeks or 2 or a month.
Thanks very much.
Quarterly report.
Do we have any other questions on the quarterly report? No. Hearing none. The report is for information. On the vote, all in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried.
Media. You should never leave me here by myself. When I do have something I would like to bring up, and it's certainly, you say other business, because it's not new business. Something that I have brought forward in this regard many times, but I like a dog with a bone. But anyway, and over the course of the summer, there's lots going on, as some we already know about. Other situations we find out later. But the parking in Tobermory area stands out, and I have heard about it just from locals, but I've contacted the office a couple of times with suggestions. So there is a letter later on in our correspondence, yep. And I would just won't speak to it there, but here I will just say that I have suggested that we do training prior to the season. Carol's back, and that we have contract, I know, and these people just come up, they work in different areas, I know, and have different ideas. But we had some situations where, you know, and they just need our perspective, and that our tourism is our number one industry. We're not here on so much a money grab, but that our visitation is so important, and it's really important that we treat our guests, they are our guests, with respect. So we don't need to tick people off and they don't return or recommend it. So previously when I had complaints, I brought forward that completing in this contract with not new either. But before the end of the year, I do believe we need to make a decision and have some rationale of why we're making the decision that we are not moving on repairing the Cabot Head Road. We've had, I understand that the Dyers, there are issues in the Dyers Bay regarding traffic. There's been suggestions that we control the traffic in the summer months when the kids are on the road or whatnot, and then opening it up. We have one of the most iconic, beautiful roads along the escarpment in Georgian Bay anywhere that was built by local contractors 6 decades ago. And now it's got a gate on it. So yes, there's issues. Are they insurmountable? No, I don't believe they are. Are there people that will work with us on the light station? Yes, I do believe we are. What I'm afraid of is we're going to run into time. And we all know that if this isn't solved, or there isn't a decision made, everybody, in my understanding, we went back to the beginning of this term where we did the sticky notes, what priorities were. There was a lot of sticky notes on Cabot. Let's hope before the end of November. The water's down, it's been down. That we give a firm explanation as to why we're not. My take on Cabot Head Road. We can control it. We have every right to control it to the best of my knowledge. And if there's legal issues that I'm not aware of, I'd like to be made aware of those. So that is my old new business. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, yeah. All right. Rod, any business? Any other business?
No, but Smokey has a point. It's a good topic for discussion coming up when we all get around the table again.
All right, Todd, any other business?
No other business, but I do agree with Smokey and Rod regarding the Cabot Head Road.
All right. Okay, then we'll go to correspondence. And that's the Tobermory Chamber. That's the letter that they're indicating issues with the parking and machines in Tobermory, and how do you deal with that?
Have our bylaw departments review it and report back to council on some of these topics.
Yeah.
I will be attending on the 16th, the AGM. So basically then, Peggy, the response to that letter will be that you're going to have staff look at it and we will get a report back. Okay, thank you.
Next is the Minister of Solicitor General. Provincial place, and it just looked like a new funding model. Teresa, what is this?
Sorry, it is a new funding model, but it's not clear.
For a report and to come back to council. So first, was do you want motions on this, or we just direction to staff?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll just do a motion, receive as information for items A to D, and then I believe for E, if you want to direct that to staff, that would be another motion, please.
We directed A to staff to bylaw.
Yes, thank you for correcting me. You're right. So I think we can combine A and E into one motion, direct to staff, and then B, C, and D would be for information.
Okay. So and E, direction to staff, moved by Smokey. Second by Rod. Any questions? Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. B, C, and E received as information. The correspondence moved by Todd, second by Rod. Any questions on the reports on the information or the correspondence? Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Bylaws. We have a confirmatory bylaw. Moved by Smokey, second by Rod. Any questions? Call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Closed session. Council move into closed meeting with the CAO and clerk in attendance pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended for the following reasons. F, advice that is subject to solicitor client privilege including communications necessary for that purpose. Identifiable individual. All right, Courtney? Yes. Moved by Smokey, second by Todd. All in favor? Given to the CAO, and that concluded our in-camera discussion. Motion to adjourn, Smokey and Rod. Call the vote, all in favor. Well, council is adjourned.
Have a
See you
good
next
day,
week.
everyone.